So I finished Star Wars The Clone Wars a week ago, and I wanted to make a video just discussing my thoughts on this film. Now, before I get started, I am not going to spoil The Clone Wars at all. I'm going to talk about some characters that are in the show, but for the most part, every character I mention, I feel like it's common knowledge that they're in the TV show. But if you're wondering if you should watch this or not because you don't want it to be spoiled, I will not be spoiling anything. I will just be talking about different story arcs without going into detail and what my overall thoughts were on the TV show. But before I give you all my thoughts, I want to kind of give you a background of my experience with watching Star Wars The Clone Wars. When the Clone Wars film was released in theaters back in, I think it was 2008, I actually saw it in theaters. I thought it was a fun movie, but for the most part, I didn't like it. Even as a young kid, I think I was in 6th grade when I saw it. I didn't love it, but it was fun enough because it was another Star Wars story. I kind of forgot about that whole side of Star Wars. I wasn't a fan of the animation and I moved on. In recent years, the Clone Wars animated TV show started becoming more and more popular, and finally with the announcement of season 7 happening, it started becoming very popular. It got to a point where whenever I would bring up Star Wars with my friends, they would always ask if I had seen the Clone Wars, and when I said no, they were shocked. Some even went as far to tell me that episodes of the Clone Wars were better than Star Wars movies, which at the time I could not physically believe. I couldn't imagine something with such obscure animation being better than a full-length feature film with a much larger budget behind it. So in 2019, when Disney Plus dropped, I added Clone Wars to my watch list right away. I told myself this is the time that I can actually watch the TV show. It's completely accessible and I'm able to watch the entire TV show. I made it, I think, 3 or 4 episodes before I threw in the towel and just gave up. Season 1 was hard. It was very hard. It took me a long time to get through season 1. Fast forward a few months, I tried to watch the show again. Once again, I just could not get into it. I found the show to have a lot of filler episodes, and there were a lot of plots that happened that I just didn't care for. It didn't star characters that I was attached to, therefore it wasn't anything that was very appealing to me. Skip again to a few months. We're in the fall of 2020, so a year after Disney Plus dropped, and Mandalorian season 2 is airing on Disney Plus. It was the night where the Ahsoka episode came out, so we're watching that with friends, and as I was watching the TV episode, I realized, oh my gosh, this Ahsoka character is actually pretty cool. From what I've seen of her in the Clone Wars TV show, she's okay, she's a little annoying, but I like her enough to make me feel for her while I'm watching this Mandalorian episode. And it kind of sparked an interest in me. It made me want to actually go back and commit myself to Clone Wars. And so I committed myself. Now, I didn't watch Clone Wars in the traditional way that each episode was released. I actually watched it in chronological order. Now, if you're wondering what the chronological order is, I will leave a link to that website in the description below. It is official. It's on the StarWars.com website. It tells you how you should watch the Clone Wars series because some episodes are actually out of order. And so I watched it that way. I think that was good because there was never a time where the plot was confusing or it didn't make sense. Now, with that being said, there were still a lot of filler episodes and some episodes that I had a hard time getting through, if I'm being completely honest. However, by the time I reached season 3, I would say I was really getting attached to the Clone Wars. And so my message to you is, if you are a first-time watcher of Clone Wars, or if you're struggling the same way I did while I was watching it, I want to encourage you to keep watching it, to keep pressing forward through this TV show because it does get so much better. Now, I really want to focus on what I wish I would have known when I was first watching this series. And one of the big things I want to highlight is that yes, the show gets better in season 3, but that doesn't mean that there's not bad episodes in the rest of the show. Even when season 3 hit, I saw a lot of great episodes, but there were still plenty of filler episodes where it seemed like nothing happened. I just want to warn you of that because those do exist. Even in season 7 they exist, which many consider to be the greatest season of the whole show. Now, as I was watching the TV show, I made a few observations that I just want to share with you guys because I mean, these were the thoughts I had whenever episodes ended, and this is the video to share them in, right? Yeah, let's do it. Any episode with Padme or Jar Jar Binks in the main storyline lost points automatically because they stink. Usually if the episode starred Padme, it meant that it was dealing with some sort of political side plot, which wasn't usually very fascinating. And then if you think Jar Jar Binks is annoying in the movies, he is even more annoying in the TV show. The thing that frustrated me is we still had episodes with Jar Jar Binks by the time we were on season 6. You would think that the show creators would see that the fans didn't like the earlier episodes with Jar Jar Binks, or that, I don't know, they didn't like Jar Jar Binks in the movie, so they would stop putting him in the show. But no, even well into season 6, we still get plenty of Jar Jar Binks. So yeah, any episodes with them automatically lost points for me. When I say points, I mean my rating out of 10. Yes, I was crazy enough to rate every episode of the TV show. And I feel like I'm kind of bashing the show, and I really don't want to come off as that. I'm just sharing my observations of what I noticed while watching the TV show. Some cool observations. The Clone Wars series introduced us to a lot of characters. For the most part, a lot of good characters as well. We had seen Asajj Ventress in the Clone Wars movie as well as Ahsoka Tano, and those were two amazing female additions to the Star Wars galaxy. In fact, I mentioned earlier that I kind of thought of Ahsoka as a more annoying character in the earlier show, but even when she was more annoying, I still liked her. I still enjoyed watching her, and I thought she was just fun to watch. I don't know. As the show progresses, she really matures, and so if one of the problems you have with the Clone Wars is Ahsoka, keep watching because I promise her character does mature and she gets better. Ahsoka is one of my new favorite Star Wars characters of all time, and I know that probably sounds crazy to those who haven't seen the TV show. I just really like her to a point where she might even be in my top 5 favorite Star Wars characters of all time. Asajj Ventress is also amazing. I love the episodes that focused on her. I met some people that don't really care too much for her, but I myself really like her. Cad Bane is a character that isn't in any of the movies, but you see him in quite a few episodes of the Clone Wars, and he is a really cool bounty hunter that you're introduced to. He wasn't my favorite character necessarily, but I was never watching an episode and didn't enjoy him being in it. So like, he was a good enough character. You also get to know Rex, Cody, so many other clone troopers as well. There are entire stories devoted to the clone troopers, and some of those stories were my favorite stories of the entire series. I kind of touched on this earlier, but if you haven't started Clone Wars yet and you're thinking about getting started, I want to warn you that this show is the definition of filler episodes. Now that could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing for you. If you're watching Clone Wars to only find out about Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi, then that's probably going to be a bad thing for you because there are many episodes that don't even have Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi in them. Rather, they focus on other characters within the Star Wars galaxy. However, if you're like me and you were watching the show just to get more into the Star Wars lore and find out more about the different characters in the Star Wars universe, then you will probably appreciate these filler episodes because it just shows you what's going on in other parts of the galaxy. You get introduced to plenty of new characters, and for the most part, they were good. Now, there were definitely some filler episodes that I had a hard time getting through, but it wasn't anything that was so bad that like I had to stop watching the show or anything like that. My mentality when there were bad episodes were just get through this episode and a good episode will come soon. Another observation, the droids are super annoying. In the movie, the way they talk is cooler than the way they talk in the TV show. Like the way they talk in the TV show is just super annoying to me. And on top of my gripes, Darth Sidious is hideous. Been wanting to say that since November. He's just so ugly. Why did they animate him to look like such a hideous person? Anytime he was on the screen, I would like verbally show my disgust. Now, the next 3 things I want to talk about are my favorite storylines from the Clone Wars. There are many episodic story arcs where in 3 or 4 episodes they tell you one complete story. There are 3 stories that stood out to me as my favorite. Now, with these stories, I won't go into spoilers. I'm just going to give you a general idea of what happens in them, unless they're like big time spoilers. Then I'll just tell you what they are so that when you're watching it, you can kind of like expect it and appreciate it, hopefully. The first one is a story that takes place on the planet Umbara. It stars Rex and his clone troopers. They are under the command of a Jedi named Master Krell. He is a really cool Jedi who has 2 double blade lightsabers, blue and green, which that within itself is really cool to watch. But the way the episodes were laid out and the animation style, it felt exactly like I was watching a war movie. And I think this was one of the first times when I was watching Clone Wars that I started to realize my friends were right when they said that some of the episodes are better than the actual movies. It was very deep, it was emotional, it was sad, and it was action-packed as well. And that's all I'll say about that one. The next storyline is the last 4 episodes of season 5. Now, this one, I'm not going to go into details at all because it is heavy spoiler territory. However, I'm just going to tell you the last 4 episodes of season 5, so when you get to that point of the show, you know what to expect. You know to expect some great things. And the other story arc that I want to talk about is actually the final 4 episodes of season 7, aka the final 4 episodes of the entire TV series. And this one I'm also not going to spoil at all. However, take my word for it, the final 4 episodes of the TV show are... They're not even episodes. It feels like a movie. They present it as if it's a movie, and it is put together so well. I swear, the final 4 episodes of this TV show better than most of the Star Wars movies out there. Also, this TV show is pretty violent. I expected like just a kid's show. There are some crazy freaking scenes in this show. Alright, so this is going to sound really nerdy, but in the midst of watching the Clone Wars, I actually kept track of every episode that I rated, and I gave an average rating to each season based on my average rating for each episode. I put it in Excel and everything. Clone Wars ranked. Look, it's Yoda. Yay! Alright, so let's talk the seasons. I just want to give you my average ratings for each season so you know what to expect from each season. Obviously, my opinion is going to be very different from your opinion, but this is just kind of an idea of how I felt about each season. I will rank it from worst to best. So the worst season for me was season 1, which received a 7.45 out of 10 average rating. Next one was season 2 with a 7.64 average rating. And then we have season 6, which has a 7.85 rating. There were some great episodes in season 6, but a lot of 8 out of 10 episodes and some even 6 out of 10 episodes. And then I have season 5 with a 7.9 out of 10. Then season 3 with an 8.09 out of 10. Season 4 with an 8.14 out of 10. And finally, my favorite season, season 7 with an 8.7 out of 10. It might be a little unfair the way I ranked these because season 7 only has 12 episodes, whereas season 1 has over 20 episodes, and so season 1 is more prone to have a lower average rating, but for the most part, season 7 I would say is one of my favorite seasons. If I actually took the time to look at each season, my rankings might be a little bit different, but season 7 was an enjoyable season overall. If you're still on the fence of watching the Clone Wars, I hope that this video at least helped you get a little bit more motivated to watch it. It has built my love for Star Wars, and overall I'm just happy to say that I've watched this whole series now because I've been wanting to see it for so long, and to finally say that I've seen it, it feels like such a great accomplishment, and I feel like I know so much more about Star Wars too. I want to hear what your favorite episodes were from Clone Wars. Please don't spoil anything in the comments because I will have viewers who haven't seen Clone Wars before and I don't want to ruin the show for them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.